Hi, it's Ben, and welcome to the third part of this mini-series on scales. The scale that we're going to be looking at today is the minor scale. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 on F major and F sharp major, I strongly recommend that you go back and just check that out before watching this. You've learnt a basic major shape, now let's look at a basic minor shape. Usually I wouldn't teach anything on minor scales until we've looked at all the major scales first, but give the people what they want, right? So the first thing to mention is that this is a video for guitarists primarily, and guitarists tend to have a really specific way of looking at things, particularly because of the shape of the fretboard and the way that the shapes all come together. The second thing to mention is that there is no such thing as just one minor scale. There are absolutely millions of them, which is why I tend not to go there too early on. You've got the natural minor scale, the melodic minor scale, the harmonic minor scale. You've got the Dorian mode, the Aeolian mode, you've got the Phrygian mode, you've got the Locrian, and then you've even got people out there talking about negative harmony, which is something to do with the cycle of fifths, taking major scales and playing them in minor contexts. It is a minefield. None of these scales are necessarily better or worse or more correct. It's purely just a way of looking at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into two very simple minor scales, but man, if you just want to crack on playing a minor blues, then this is what I'm trying to teach in this video now. Unfortunately, you can't look at the minor scale without understanding even a bit of theory, so we're going to look at that now. Absolutely any scale is made up of 8 notes. The 1 and the 8 are the same, so if this was a C major, it would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C and C. They're both the same. Now from this point, I want to introduce a little rule, and that is flats and sharps. I tend to think of flattening and sharpening a note as going up and down a staircase. When we're stood here, we're just resting. If we're going up the ladder, then we're sharpening notes. If we're going down the ladder, then we are flattening notes. When we're resting here, natural, which is denoted by this symbol here. Going up a scale is sharp, going down a scale is flat, staying where you are is natural. This is a good way of getting started and a good way of looking at things. Back to our major scale. This scale we're going to call as a natural scale. And what I mean by this is that all the notes are untampered with. This is just our guy standing still. He's not going anywhere. We've not flattened, sharpened, done anything to it. This is a representation of any scale at all. So this could be C, G, D, E, up anything. There's some basic common themes that everyone can agree on. The main being that the third note is always flattened. This is common in all minor scales. It doesn't matter if it's a natural minor, a melodic minor, a harmonic minor. You're always going to have a flattened third note. Thinking of our guy on the steps, that means that our guy on the steps is going down. That means on any keyboard, it doesn't matter which note that we're playing. If we were here, we'd be playing the next note below it. So down is this way. So if we're on this note, we'd be playing this note. If you're on this note, we'd be playing this note. If you're on this note, we'd be playing this note, and so on. So if we say that this note here is a C on a keyboard, in a major scale, we would go 1, 2, 3. In a minor scale, we would flatten the third note. 1, 2, 3 becomes flattened and becomes this note. So in a C minor scale, it would be da, da, da. This is basic and consistent across all scales. There are 3 most commonly used scales. The natural minor looks like this. There's a flattened 7 and a flattened 6. The natural minor is pretty much also the Aeolian mode, but more of that later. In scale number 2, the melodic minor scale does this weird thing where on the way up, it plays natural 6 and 7 notes, has a major 7, but then on the way down, you flatten, pretty much just play exactly what the natural minor was. There are reasons for that, but we'll go into that later. Scale number 3 is the harmonic minor scale, which actually has a major 7 in it, but you've also got a flat 6 and a major 7. Problem with the natural minor, the melodic minor, and the harmonic minor scales is that they all kind of have these little devices that, in a practical sense, for a guitarist, they tend to be too academic. Guitarists kind of just want to get on with things. So this is the way I would approach a minor scale. You've always got your flat third. That's a given. It doesn't matter what key. This area here is where we have the most problems, because if you're going to play a blues, this scale here, the melodic minor scale, on its way up, says that you've got to include a major 7, but actually in any blues scale, particularly on the pentatonic scale, you've always got a flattened 7. You've got other things in the blues scale, but these notes are the main things that make it sound minor and make it sound bluesy, which brings me finally to this note, which is purely a case of choice. So what I'm saying here is basically in any minor scale, you can have 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8, or you can have 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, and 8. And then this note here is something that you can choose to do or not. I'm going to look at modes and things in another video, but this is just to get you started. Scale 1 that we're going to look at is 1, 2, flat 3, and a flat 7. We're going to leave the 6 as is. Incidentally, this is called the Dorian mode, or you could technically call it the melodic minor scale, but with a flattened 7th on the way up. I'm not going to bother with discrepancies of going up and down differently. And scale 2 that we're going to look at is again flat 3, flat 7, but we're going to include the flattened 6th. This scale is called the Aeolian mode if you want to check it out, or it's just the natural minor. They're the two scales that we're going to do. Okay, so same again, we're only going to operate in the first 5 frets. That is fret 1, fret 2, fret 3, fret 4, and fret 5. The scale we're going to look at is F and F sharp, because you'll see in a minute how this applies to both. Lots and lots of musicians do this differently or explain it differently. This is just my take on it as a guitarist, and this is what I found to be really helpful. Okay, so remember in the major scale, we had a natural, everything was 1 to 8, and it was all natural. Very nice. In any minor scale, the most universal rule is to flatten the third. Root position there as F. There's the third. We want to flatten that, so we want to go down. Major, minor. This note here is the third. Incidentally, if you did want to sharpen the third, it would be there. So do you remember what I was saying about sharp things going up and flattened things going down? This is where the rule applies. So if we're here, if we wanted to sharpen that, we would go up the scale. So there, sharpen again. If we wanted to flatten it, we would go there. Flatten again, go there. This is on any string. Sharp, sharp, flat, flat, flat. So back to F. There's your flat third. That's your first bit. In scale 1, we're going to look at the Dorian mode or the natural 6. So the only notes in this that are affected are the flattened third and the flattened 7th. Everything else is natural. So we're going to go 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. Now 6 is there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're still in the first 5 frets here. We haven't moved out of them. That 6 there is natural. It's not flattened. Next note is here. Your index finger there. And then there's your octave there. So the whole thing would be 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8. Carrying on from there, 1, 2, flat third there, a major third would be there. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, major 7 would be there. Flat 7 would be there. And then there's your octave there. So the whole thing up and down would be 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8. And then the other rule from the other videos, go all the way up. There's your minor third there. Back down. Now scale number 2, this is technically the Aeolian mode. It's called a lot of other things, but notice how it fits in with this other scale. In the first scale we went like that. In this scale, in the Aeolian one, we're going to flatten the 6th note and we're going to go 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6. And it has the feeling of it being sadder, I guess. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 8. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 8. And then the choice is yours how to use that, but I'll cover that in another video. That was how to play it for an F minor, so either... But we're guitarists and we want to learn things quickly and by shapes. Those shapes are applicable anywhere you go on the fretboard. So if you are on an F minor and you move that to an F sharp or a G, if you apply exactly the same shapes, you'd end up with this. Or most guitarists have got the pentatonic scale down. But they don't know any of the notes in between. So either the Dorian mode or the Aeolian mode fills in the gaps. So see what I'm saying? As far as I want to go theoretically on the minor scale, because we get into a whole world of other things once you go past that point. Okay, so there's a million ways of playing a minor scale, but the most important part to remember, I think, for anyone who just wants to get on with it, a minor scale has a flattened third. And that's the same in a minor or a major chord. So there's a G major, and it's got a major third. 1, 2, 3. There's a G minor, and it's got a minor third. 1, 2, 3. This is applicable across all chords, across all scales, everything. Whether it's natural, melodic, harmonic, Locrian, whatever is entirely up to you. Use either of those scales and you can probably improvise pretty well. You can start blending the pentatonic minor scale, the Dorian mode or the natural six, and the natural minor scale or the Aeolian mode. Those three scales pretty much cover most of what you want to do. So if we're in B minor, and then G minor, or F minor, just the way a pentatonic minor scale is exactly the same shapes-wise. It's all shapes. This is strictly getting away from kind of the academic side of things, so you can just go and have fun with it in a minor key and just see what you come up with. So here's F minor at 120 BPM, using scale 1, which is flat 3 and flat 7. Quarter note pulse on the downbeat of every crotchet. Da, 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same again at 120, but on every eighth note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same again, but we're going to skip ahead to 180 BPM. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same again, but we're going to skip to 220. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same again, but at 260. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same at 280. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and so on and so forth. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. Try and alternate it between going from F to G minor to A minor to B minor and just go all the way up the fret.